Hello everyone and welcome to Walt Buteau's Real Estate Channel. I want to invite you again to subscribe to said channel if you would like to see more of this content, but also hit the like button if you like this particular subject or any of my other videos that I've posted over the last few months. I want to talk about a conversation I'm hearing on a semi-regular basis, whether it's with clients that I have or with potential clients, people I call and see if they are ready to sell. Sometimes it's expired listings. I've called multiple expired listings in several areas in Rhode Island where they say, yeah, we took it off the market because we couldn't find anywhere to live. So again, I'm talking to the boomer and the conversation is something like this. I'd sell my house, but where am I going? It's a legitimate concern, but it doesn't have to stop the conversation or even the thought process. If you've owned your home for 20, 30, 40 years, there's little doubt you have a lot of equity and you're just sitting on that money. Nothing wrong with that either, by the way. And that gives you something incredibly valuable in today's market. First of all, you probably have a home that would sell above the median price, I would bet, and also open things up for the younger homeowner who's trying to move up. So that means that theoretically you sell your property quickly. Obviously, every listing right now is valuable if it's presented correctly. Here are the options though. Maybe it's a smaller ranch, one floor living, or even a colonial or a cape that has a first floor en suite where you stay on that 1,000 square feet in the first floor and the upstairs is for grandkids. But hopefully it's just a ranch where it's one floor and you can be comfortable in there, 1,200, 1,300 square feet. That's in big demand right now. Maybe you have a little more equity than some and you find a beautiful condo on the water, you cash in. Look, everyone wants to cash in and not have a home payment, but there's a value to a home payment. Talk to your financial advisor about that theoretically. There's a value to, if not the home payment, I should say, there's a value to having liquidable cash sitting in an account somewhere, as opposed to all of it in your house. You could always do a HELOC, but then that gets a little more complicated than having it liquid somewhere. There's a value to that. So maybe you don't need to buy the entire house cash, but you can put a significant down payment, have a small mortgage every month. Maybe it's moving in with family. I've talked to people who are doing this. I was talking to a woman in Warren who was going to sell her house, but the plan then became her dad sold his house and they're building an ADU in her house in Warren. So maybe that's a plan. I know contractors firsthand, they are off the charts with adding ADUs to various homes, sometimes for investors because they want that extra income, but a lot of times it's for a family member who's going to live with the son or the daughter. And I'll tell you, one of my uncles, my late uncle, one of my favorite uncle, I should say my favorite uncle, they're all my favorites. They're all my favorites, but one of my most favorite uncles, him and my aunt, who's still with us, they live in a beautiful ADU with their daughter. So that's an option. And maybe it's entirely another state. Maybe it's Florida, where there's plenty of single floor houses in Florida. And maybe it's anywhere you wish, something that becomes part of an adventure. My job is to help you figure that out first, okay? I'm not here to sell the house out from under you, put a sign in the yard and go, hey, sorry, you're moving because we sold your house. No way. We wouldn't do that. I don't think any agent would do that, but the goal would be to at least start the conversation where we decide, well, where do you want to go? Let's see what's out there. And it's a moving target because I think we're going to see a change in the market with more homes sticking on the market, so there will be more options. We can identify the communities with the type of properties that you like. We could help you determine what your current home is worth. So now you get an idea, here's how much I have to spend. Maybe I only have to spend half that and put the rest away. Maybe I, like Walt suggested, or like my financial advisor suggested, maybe I don't go all cash in on the house. All those things are something you want to discuss ahead of time so there's less anxiety when you do eventually, if you do eventually decide to sell the house. I will tell you, my goal, because I love strategy, is to help you build a strategy, something that will work for you and work for your family. And it includes all of the things I just mentioned, because again, the boomer is in control. And in the situation where they are selling in Rhode Island and elsewhere, they are beating the other buyers in many cases to certain properties because they have cash and they offer cash for the whole property. They offer a big chunk of cash for the property. They're easy. They close easier. Their credit's great. All sorts of things come into play. And so they are right now, in some ways, this is the crux of the logjam of supply, I think, in Rhode Island. If there were more places for the boomers to go, they would leave those colonials and those capes and those bigger houses. And now the folks who maybe are looking at their second or third home, now they have a place to go. And guess what? They left a home that maybe was their second home. Now somebody in a first home has that home to go into. Now the first-time home buyer competing with those boomers, maybe for those smaller ranches or the Cape that again has that first floor area that has an ensuite on the first floor, so the people who have bad knees or bad hips don't have to worry about going up the stairs. You know, that competition lessens, I think, once the boomer decides to really start selling. Because again, in Rhode Island, I believe the number is 47% of our homes are owned by baby boomers. And an article in my Walt's Window this week, my newsletter, talked about how across the country, boomers are just controlling not only the selling, but also the buying. I think I had a stat for you earlier. I think the 55% of our home sellers nationally in a recent survey were baby boomers. 55%. I'd love to help you figure all this out. It could start with a quick conversation, even a text message. My phone number, 401-339-0090, but you could find it pretty easily. Just Google Walt Buteau. My number's all over the place. Love to have a quick conversation with you, figure out some strategy, and just figure out where you are. I'm not a high pressure guy. I'm more of a guy that wants to make a relationship, talk to you about it, see what works for you, and I'll tell you flat out. If I don't think it's a good idea for you to move because we can't find a place for you, I'll tell you that right out. But I'd love to at least start the discussion. If you enjoyed this content or like this content or find value in this content, please hit the like button and also subscribe to Walt Buteau's Real Estate channel. Otherwise, have a great day.